This is the Pedego Comfort Cruiser 2. It's a 2015 model, and several things have been updated on this bike, but I have ridden this for years, like several years. I've seen them at rental shops for tours. They're sold all across the United States and now in parts of Europe and Asia Pacific. It's a great bike, and it's kind of got that California beach cruiser style, and in fact the headquarters are located in Irvine, California, near Huntington Beach, Surf City. So these guys actually take them on the beach, or the boardwalk I should say. They don't really work in sand. The tires aren't fat enough. But this is sort of the entry-level offering from Pedego, right? It's very basic, and it does come in a few different styles. There's the cantilever high step, the step-through, which is what we're looking at here. It's going to be easier to stand over and to mount. It's a little bit smaller. And then they even have a 24-inch cruiser, which instead of having 26-inch wheels like these, it has 24-inch. So wheels are a little smaller, bike gets lower to the ground, frame's a little tighter. But you know, this is the kind of bike that almost anyone can kind of get on, adjust the seat post, and have fun just cruising around. It's not as active like as in terms of even the saddle. See how big and comfortable this is? Well, you know, this nose on this saddle isn't quite as narrow or long, and I've noticed if you pedal a whole lot, you could kind of chafe your leg a little bit, and my leg extension isn't quite as good. The pedals are pretty far forward, so you see the angle of the seat tube and the seat posts are kind of back further, so it's almost like you're sitting on a recliner and your feet are kind of going forward and down instead of active like road bikes where it's more like vertical and you're like straight up and down or almost leaning forward. The handlebars actually really support this relaxed upright riding position because they're so big, they're kind of swept back like that. So when you're sitting on this, it's real easy to have a heads-up view, spot traffic, signal where you're going, can ring this fun little bell. So it's a great bike for just comfortable cruising around town. And this one is just super, super simple. So if you compare this to like the Interceptor, you're not getting a headlight. You're not getting a seat post suspension shock, which would make it even more cush going over bumps. You're not getting those leather grips. You're not getting an LCD display that kind of shows you your speed, your distance, your precise battery output. And you're not getting pedal assist. You only got a twist throttle. So it's kind of like, you know, a scooter or a motorcycle or something. You ride this bike like normal, pedal, pedal, pedal. If you want help, you just twist that and vroom, the bike takes off. It's just, and anyone can do it, you know? And there's less to break. And of course, this one's cheaper. I think it's like $23.95 if you get these matching fenders, which I do really love. I mean, they're beautiful, they're aluminum, they're really well fastened so they don't rattle a whole lot. And they're this nice fun color, and there are several color choices to choose from depending on, again, the high step cantilever or this low step. I love that they also have a sort of a chain guard, because if you're wearing pants or a dress or something, it's going to help protect it and not get you greasy from touching that chain. This bike does actually have a decent range in terms of gears. You've got 7 speeds up here. Kind of see it if I peel that sticker back, with this big oversized sort of thumb shifter, SIS index shifter from Shimano. Ooh, there we go. And if you live somewhere cold, that's kind of cool because you can use it really easily if you have gloves on, and it's just front and center, real easy to see. And that shifts this derailleur, Shimano Acera. It's decent. It's kind of the lower middle end, and they've got this nice extra large ring on the outer for climbing and moving this thing along. It is about 58 pounds, just measured it earlier. It totally depends on which battery you have and which frame you're getting, but you can expect in that sort of like upper 50s or, you know, 60-pound range. Okay, so 7 gears, that's decent. Top speed on this with with throttle mode is 20 miles per hour. Okay, so once you hit 20 miles per hour, you're getting wind resistance, the motor's not helping you anymore, and you're cranking along. It's tough to go much faster than that unless you're bombing a big hill. Okay, one of the complaints I have about this bike is that so much of the weight is towards the back, and you can really see that here with that geared hub motor and that removable battery on the rack up there. So the rack adds some weight. It's really burly, it's kind of reinforced. You can see it's actually welded to the frame in 6 spots, but it's, you know, to get that extra strength, it's bigger. In fact, the tubing is not standard size. So if you try to have like those clip-on panniers, they might not work. The clips, you know, they might require a little bit narrower. Pedego, I think they sell their own bag pannier thing that actually kind of velcros onto this front bar. It works just fine. It's got reflectors built in. And then they have this sort of spring latch thing that I haven't really used it for a whole lot, maybe like newspapers occasionally, but it's, I don't know, it seems to come on basic racks. What I really love about the rack, though, is that it surrounds the battery and protects it really well, and it just looks really nice. Once you have a bag covering up the battery, I mean, this thing blends in. It almost doesn't seem like an electric bike at all, except for when you use the motor, because there's a distinct kind of ring, kind of a whirring noise, because this is a geared hub motor. Okay, so being geared, it gets to be a little bit lighter weight, a little bit smaller, it's kind of hidden behind that chain ring, and the disc brake on the other side, but it makes a little bit more noise, and there's potential for it to wear out faster because there's gears in there spinning all the time. In my experience, it works fine, and this is from Dapu. It's one of the stronger hub motors that I've tested. I really like it. Easy Motion bikes also use that same hub motor. Pedego's got theirs like branded, which is kind of nice. While we're back here looking at the wheel, I want to call out the tire size is 26 by 2.3 inch, and they are pre-slimed tires, which means if you get a kind of a puncture, you could potentially just pump up the tire a little bit more and it would maybe hold the air longer or self-seal. The tread on these is kind of, it's almost like a BMX tread, but it's sort of a hybrid for a little bit of, mostly on-road, but giving you a little bit of traction if you get onto a dirt path or something like that. The brakes on this bike are mechanical, but they are disc brakes, and you got 180 millimeter Avid rotors front and rear with this nice little tool-free adjustment, so you can kind of spin that and make it faster or slower, like pulling further or less far to activate the brakes. So it's neat that you can do so much of kind of the quick tune-ups without a tool, but you're still going to need some tools if you do get a flat, because there aren't quick releases on the rear or the front. You need, a standard sort of a wrench to do that. Reflector. The brake levers are great. They're from Tektro, and they do include a motor inhibitor cable. See how there are two cables there? This one cuts power to the motor. On a bike like this that doesn't have pedal assist, you don't really need that, because if you want to stop the bike, you don't twist the throttle. But I guess they use these nice, it's the same brake levers they use on all their bikes. They're kind of rubberized, real like ergonomic feeling, and they've got this integrated bell, which I love. So I can't really complain. It's almost like overbuilt. Pedego is known for pretty good quality, great customer service, good warranty, all that kind of stuff. And as far as their motor goes, this is the power cable. You'll notice that it's kind of sticking out a little bit along with sort of the derailleur cable. If you tip the bike on this side, these could be a little bit more vulnerable, and there are a lot more wires all over here, as well as that mechanical disc brake on that side. So there is some screwing around to be done. If you take the motor off, you have to fix a flat or something, but they do have a quick disconnect in line, which is nice. So this is thoughtfully designed, great kickstand, very functional. They've even got a bottle cage like bosses right here. See this threaded eyelets? So you could put on like a little mini pump or one of those locks that kind of connects, or just a water bottle right there. Or you could put all that in your saddle bag. But again, the back of this bike is pretty heavy, and so keep that in mind. Sometimes you're riding around on this, especially with this frame, because it's not a diamond frame, the frame can just feel a little bit more flexy. You're not getting the instant power transfer that you would on a more active bike, but you're getting a really comfortable upright ride. It's very powerful. In fact, this is a 500 watt geared hub motor, so that's at the upper end, and the battery comes in a range of sizes, including this one here, which is the very lowest. It's 36 volts, 10 amp hour. You can upgrade to 36, 15 amp hour. That's going to get you more range, or you can step it all the way up to 48 volt, 10, 48 volt, 15. 48 volt, 15 would be the highest. Of course, it's heavier, it's much more expensive, but it's going to really empower that motor. You're definitely going to feel, I'd say if you're someone who weighs maybe 180 pounds or more, it might be worth looking at the 48 volt option, just because that higher voltage, potentially higher amp output is going to be able to move you more effectively and climb hills a little bit easier. I'm only like 135 pounds, and so the 3610 works for me. I still notice though, when I get on a 48 volt bike, like it's just like it's even zippier. So those are your options. Of course, it costs more. I think all their batteries use Samsung cells, so really high quality stuff. And they've got this integrated light. You can see it kind of come on, just a few LEDs. It's better than nothing. And then they've got this voltage indicator here. So if you take the battery off for charging, you know how full it is. To do that, you just twist the key, And then you pull on the bottom of the battery. See if I can, there we go. Just comes off. The batteries weigh 5+ pounds depending on which one you get. Again, 5 being the lowest size. Got a fuse. Here's the charging port right there. And then an on-off switch. And that's actually pretty cool because when you turn the battery completely off, that means it's not going to slowly discharge and stuff if you're storing it in your house. And to keep it lasting, I recommend, you kind of top it off every few months if you haven't ridden it. Store it somewhere that's like cool and moderate temperatures, because extreme temperatures, like extreme heat, extreme cold, they're really hard on the battery. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back. But it's nice to know that if you were parking that in your garage or something, that you could bring the battery inside with you and charge it inside. There we go. There we go. It's clicked in. And turn it back on. I did want to call out the charger. It says "Save the Earth" on it. It's interesting. Looks like a 2.1 amp charger. Pretty standard. There's the little plug. It weighs about 1.5 pounds, and it does have a little fan, so there's going to be a little bit of noise. But you can imagine putting this in a backpack or the bag and taking it to work with you or wherever, a friend's house, and being able to top it off during the day. So it's nice to just see that and get a feel for it. There we go. So I think that's pretty much it. One way that you could spruce up this bike a little bit is by putting on like a thud buster, a seat post suspension type of thing. And it's always nice to know what the diameter is. So this is 28.6 millimeter diameter on the seat post there. If you do get a thud buster though, really crank this down, or get like a salsa lip lock, because when your whole body weight's pushing down on this seat, like I've noticed, it slowly slides down, and so really tighten that up. But seat post suspension, that's it's like $150 or less depending on which one you get, and you can kind of get closer to that Interceptor with all those goodies, including the grips and stuff. So I'm just gonna hop on. This bike's very simple because it's only a throttle. There we go. I'm just gonna go ahead and let's see here. Go back here and press the power button, and then come up here, press the power button. If you ever forget and you're like pressing this red button, just remember you have to turn on the battery too. It takes a little bit extra thought. And we've got a generic readout here. This is just a voltmeter with 3 LEDs, so full, half, and empty. And I've noticed sometimes if you really gun it, it almost goes from full to half just because you're using the battery. And that's one of the downsides of not having an LCD monitor that's a little more precise. So I'm gonna go ahead and twist it and go. Definitely got us going. I don't know exactly how fast, but it's reasonable. I'm just gonna pedal. Yeah. So that's the thing about whoa. If you're pedaling and you're someone who's a little more active like that, it feels all right, for short distances. But just keep in mind, you're not leaned forward as much. It's not quite as active that way. And if you do tend to use the throttle a lot, not having pedal assist means that your hand is constantly flexed like this. if you're going over bumps or anything, you've got to keep your hands kind of twisting. It's not bad. And, you know, that's how a lot of the original electric bikes were set up, just like this, where you kind of had to twist the throttle to go. But it is a trade-off, and I'd say it's the primary trade-off, just going with the basic comfort cruisers that Pedego offers. But they're still wonderful bikes. I hope that helps you get a feel for them. For the full write-up on this and other Pedego electric bikes, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com.